Hey guys, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays. This is episode 20. It's a weekly Q&A show where I look through Twitter, I look through Facebook, I look mostly under the comment section of last week's episode, and I answer as many questions as I can. Now, normally at the start of every video, I say, I'm going to try and keep this video short, I got things to do, but it's never going to happen, so I'm just going to stop saying that, and I probably say I'm going to stop saying that, but I'm not going to stop saying that. If I look a little bit less than presentable, it's because I haven't yet finished my first cup of coffee yet. It's about 7:30 in the morning right now. And I've had a long weekend between Christmas. I had two parties to go to, one for Christmas and one on my birthday, which was the 27th, just so you guys know. It was a great birthday, actually. I didn't plan on doing anything for my birthday. I don't care for my birthday all that much. Ooh, I'm another year older. It's so close to Christmas and New Year's. It's just like, yeah, let's just, to me, yeah, just one to me for my birthday. And everyone's like, oh, crap, it's your birthday. Yeah, it's me. And that's pretty much the extent of what I do for my birthday. But I did do something very nice for my birthday. It just won't be here until almost February. But anyway, guys, let's just stop talking about me and let's get to the questions. So first off, I have a few questions from Twitter that I want to answer. I have at least two questions here, but I'm just going to look through and see if there's any more after that. So the first one is, question for Mrhappy Mondays. Do you ever think that Final Fantasy XIV will have a weapons system where we could build our own weapons? I'm assuming you mean like visually and not like the Zodiac weapons where we customize the stats on it. I'm not saying they can't. I mean, single player games have been doing things like that for years now. It's just a matter of, would everybody use it? Would it be a one-time kind of deal system, or would you be able to modify current weapons and change their looks? Or would it be a big long quest line like the Zodiac quest line? I mean, that's something that takes a lot of power, and all the parts are then going to be pre-made, so some are going to be more popular than others and are going to be very common. It could be done. I'm not saying they can't do it, and I'm not saying they won't do it. I just don't think they will. I don't think that that's high on their priority list, and I don't think that's a system that's particularly easy to implement in an MMO. I think that it's definitely on the harder side. So, sorry, don't think they'll do it. They can, but I don't think they will. Alright, my bad. I actually had three questions that I want to answer from Twitter. So the next question I'm going to do is, first question for Mondays with Mrhappy. Any tips for a black mage that does Frontlines? Every time I'm hit, my cast is interrupted. Make sure you're using everything at your disposal. It's not like PvE where you can just stand there and do a few fire casts and everything's going to be all hunky-dory. No, you got to be you got to be on the sleeps, whether it be your instant sleep, your PvP sleep, or your regular AoE sleep. You got to make sure you're ready for your binds, your freezes, your blizzard 2s, slowing the movement speed with your blizzards and your I can't remember the name of the other ability, lethargy. You got to be really willing to be more of a CC bot, and then as soon as you have no worries at all, fire starters, flares, fire ones, they run through people. Just remember that if you swift cast something, if you swift cast a damaging ability, that its potency is cut in half, I think is the full effect of it in PvP. So it's really all about controlling the battle and then destroying people once you're free to do whatever you want. Because a black mage that's free to do whatever they want in the front lines is a scary, scary thing. Just make sure you use all your PvP abilities and you should do a lot better. And the second question is from the same person. It's like, regarding Frontlines, even the skill that prevents interrupts won't help people move like mad. Going after targets that are right next to you, like I said, you got to CC them first and then get out of range and then take care of them. They can only break one of your CCs. So if you force them to break a regular sleep, they break it. Or you force them to break the short PvP sleep and then you hit them with a long sleep. It can work very well. Binding them or freezing them after they've been slept also works really well, because they can, like I said, they can only purify once. So as long as you do it after they hit their purify, it takes a bit of practice. Black Mage is one of those jobs that definitely takes a lot of practice to do in Frontline. It's not like Scholar where you're just like, oh well, I'm a Scholar. It's just wow. I can't believe people have trouble with this. It's a lot easier. So just practice and you should be okay. Moving on to my YouTube questions, I have a new thing I like to do, because YouTube likes to think that some of the weirdest things are spam. Even if it seems like when like half the questions that come from previous weeks, even though they're different, they're worded differently, I can see that, they still count them as spam because it's the same person putting a message under my it's annoying. I don't like it. So I'm checking under the review comment section right now, and I have one question here. So, hey, Mrhappy, a question from week 17. I've been playing on Zalera. Yo, hashtag Zalera hype. That's all I gotta say. For almost a year and a half now, and I notice there isn't much activity going around in the server. The maximum party fight I've ever seen is maybe 4 or 5, where you see Gilgamesh is more than 10 at once, even in the nighttime. It wasn't a problem at first, now I'm progressing through coils and stream primals, I find it harder and harder to look for people who are willing to go through these contents even with a free company. Now, I have a friend who is in Gilgamesh right now, and he said that although it is a very active server, it is a very hardcore server and a very serious... If you see our more donut tats, you'll see anything but a very serious community. Which to a casual player isn't very appealing. Do you have any recommended server? You know, that thing is, depends on which coils you're talking about. If you're talking about first and second coil, Gilgamesh can get that done pretty easily. Final coils is where it gets really serious. Like the most recent content is where it gets really, really serious. And to be honest, I don't know enough about Gilgamesh's raiding scene outside of, you know, Method, Collision, DNT, and a few other groups on the server. You know, I'm not too familiar with how those other groups are progressing. So, I mean, Sargatanis had a lot of raid groups back when I was on it. I remember Donut and Evo, or I don't know if that's Evo for Evolution, but those two were really, really good. I don't know how it's doing right now since I haven't played on it in 2 months. Hyperion, Excalibur, and Gilgamesh are all really good servers to be on if you're looking to progress at all, just because there's more people willing. Yeah, there's gonna be hardcore people no matter where you go. There's gonna be elitists wherever you go. People will be like, oh, it doesn't have experience. Nope. It's gonna happen no matter where you go. So you just gotta go to where the most people are, really, and just hope that it works out. I'd say do a little bit more research, maybe even ask on Reddit in the mega thread or something along those lines. Go to the official forums and look in the individual servers and look at the topics that are there. Ask the servers themselves what they have to say about it. You know, one friend is good, but more opinions is also better. So since I don't have experience on those servers, I recommend go to the official forums, make a post, do something along those lines, say exactly what you're looking for, and ask the people there if it's a good idea. Make it clear you're not asking for a free company invite, you just want to know how the overall server is working. I think that'll be your best course of action. Alright, and now let's go to just the regular questions under the video. We're already quite a good bit in, so let's just get right to it. Question for next week, will summoners be getting Ramuh, Leviathan, and Shiva? Ramuh and Leviathan they spoke about a long time ago, but they've yet to talk about a Shiva Eggy. So, I don't know. I don't know how Shiva would work, really, because of the way her story is. I mean, not that she's any different in some aspects, but she's not like a Beast Tribe Primal, so I'm not exactly sure how that would work. We're pretty sure you'll be getting Ramuh and Leviathan, and it'd be cool to get Shiva, but I can't say for certain that I think we'll get it. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Question about Heavensward Raid. Did they say Alexander was the new equivalent for the Binding Coil of Bahamut in 3.0? Yes, they said it was the new equivalent of the Binding Coil of Bahamut. It seems like Alexander and the Goblins would have nothing to do with the dragons in this expansion. It seems like maybe it would be the Crystal Tower equivalent, something with a connection higher as the Bahamut story did with before. No, they said it's the Binding Coil of Bahamut equivalent, so it's going to be the low man, you know, super difficult, ultimate endgame raid. That's how they described it pretty much at the fan festival in Japan. We don't know what the Crystal Tower equivalent is yet, but I think they might do it the other way around, because the Crystal Tower by default is meant so that with a complete pug group everyone can get through it. So to me, it makes more sense, and it also makes it a little bit more epic that you have this 24-man group going in and taking down something that's more closely related to the main story. That might be what they're going for, but we're just going to have to wait and see what they decide to reveal. We got like 5-6 months before Heavensward, something like that, so we got time. Don't worry. This question's interesting. Question for week 20. If I was to go with just playing as an Arcanist, what would be a good setup? I wouldn't recommend that. If you're just playing as an Arcanist, you are a DPS. You will not be a healer. So, first and foremost. Second of all, you're losing a lot by just playing as an Arcanist. I remember seeing a comment last week about somebody saying that with all the buffs and everything, that Arcanist could do comparably to Summoner. And mainly because you would never have to worry about MP because you don't even have access to Fester. But while that's great to not have to worry about MP, having a full MP pool on a job that that runs out of MP. Like, for example, if you use TP as a resource, this is an easier one, and you end a fight with 1,000 TP, that only makes me wonder what you were doing with that TP the whole time, because you're supposed to spend TP faster than you regain it. So to end a fight with 1,000 TP unless you had pay on the whole fight is really weird. I'd say the same thing about Arcanist or Summoner. It's really strange that you would end the fight at full MP, which means you were probably using too many energy drains and not enough festers. So, yeah, I would say you probably won't get many invites to endgame stuff if you do that, outside of the Duty Finder, where people would just be like, wait, what? What? So I wouldn't recommend doing it at all. So I wouldn't say there really is a good setup. But full int, It's pretty much all you can do. Full int determination, not spell speed, anything but spell speed. And good luck to you if you decide to go down this venture. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, love your shows. This is my first question, and it's a serious one. Thank you for the compliment, and we'll keep it serious then. 14 is my first MMO I've taken seriously. I love it. Perusing the subreddit, one of the main critiques is diversification of gear progression at endgame. It's one of my critiques as well. And lack of variety of play modes, my other critique. I see people saying that they hope they really tackle these things in Heavensward, so what do you think the devs could do to diversify gear progression and play modes in the expansion? Do you think 14 is in trouble if it doesn't take on these issues? I don't. I just don't. I think it's going to hit a halt in its growth. It's gonna basically do what 11 did, where it peaked, and then it just kind of eventually over the next 10 years was just like slowly declining. I think that would happen if they don't tackle these things. And here's what I think they need to do. One, need more stats on gear. The fact that it's pretty much, if you're a melee, skill speed, determination, crit, and accuracy to hit the minimum cap, or replace skill speed with spell speed for casters, and then healers also have bite. It's like there's so few choices. It doesn't matter so much that you only have a choice between two endgame gears, because the stats are so linear anyway that you would just take the one that's best regardless. So in order to diversify gear progression, they need more interesting stats on gear. Special effects, set bonuses. Like, for example, what if Ironworks had a 2 and a 4 piece set bonus, and Coil Gear had a 2 and a 4 piece set bonus, and the best way, working on your best in slot list was to work on mixing and matching. Do I want 4 pieces for this for my job? Do I want 2 and 2? Do the accessories have set bonuses on them? Do they have a different set bonus maybe than the left side gear? All those things. Or maybe my Zodiac weapon gives me mana on auto attack, or mana on cure back or something like that, and the Dreadworm weapon increases the potency of my Medica 2s. Having choices like that, I know they're super hard to balance, and that is the big thing they're worried about right now, is balancing it while also developing content at the rate they're going. It seems pretty adamant that if they started doing those things, it would take longer to balance, take longer to get patches out. So at this point, it's a matter of, do you want content more often, or do you want more interesting gear or other things? But they're so worried about balance, that's barely even an option for them. So I think that is a big step. As for diversifying play modes, we need more PvP modes. That's the biggest thing. Wolves Den needs to be reworked. We're getting a new rule for PvP for Frontlines in 2.5, and then we're getting a new map in 3.0. So that's going to help. PvP also needs to be available at earlier levels. There needs to be a level 30 version of Frontlines. There needs to be a level 30 version of this new rule and this new map. The lower levels of Wolves Den need to be brought out a little bit more and be made more useful and less appealing to max level players and more appealing to the low level players, because I feel that having an MMO that doesn't have PvP as a viable leveling method is a serious crutch. Forcing people to wait till 50 to PvP is a serious crutch on the game, and that right there is a different play mode. Also, the more casual play mode of the Gold Saucer is being tackled in 2.51. If you're somebody who doesn't like to raid at all, wants to spend all your time chocobo racing and doing triple triad and things like that. So I think they are working on these things. I just don't know about the gear part. I don't think gear is going to be diversified all that much in Heavensward. That's what they need to do, but I do not think they will have it done. We'll gotta wait and see. I say it every time when we don't know anything and it's all speculation. We just gotta wait and see. So hopefully it ends up working out. Alright, next question. Hi, great vids, always enjoy. Just wondering, slightly off subject, if you have done in the past, knew of, or will do an entire history of Vildebrand from 1.0 to date. You know, I never thought about talking about Hildebrand. You know, the thing is, he had a story. The most important thing is the way that story ended, not so much how it got there. The story for him has been a lot more involved in 2.0, in A Realm Reborn. So it's almost like it pales in comparison. You could describe it in a sentence almost. So maybe, I'm not going to say no, just it's not on my priority list right now. Next question, Mr. Felice. What are, in your opinion, the key aspects to build a very strong sense of community in a game? I think this is something that a lot of newer games just can't get right, and it's quite a difficult thing to help grow. For reference on what I mean strong community, think about RO in its golden age or Final Fantasy XI when we were younger. Those games forced you to be nice to people by forcing you to be in giant groups of people all the time. The communities were very small, so you had to be a good person. On larger MMO communities, you're always going to have rotten apples all over the place. It's completely unavoidable. The more people that play something, the more likely you are to run into somebody who causes a problem. And then it also comes to the difference of skill. But see, those were problems in Final Fantasy XI too. Don't have your clears. can't come with us. Have you never done this before? We are just going to have you off to the side and watching. You're not the right job for us. Well, then you're welcome to be in our link shell, but we can't bring you into these fights because we need these specific jobs. As good as it was community-wise, content-wise, it was a lot different. So it's kind of a matter of you got to balance the two. And I think 14 has a good community. It's not great because obviously there are those rotten apples because more people play the game. But I mean, an example would be that what's the word? The vigil. I don't know why. The vigil that was just held for the player that passed away not too long ago. I mean, that was something that not only reached over to other servers, but it reached over to other games. And I think when a game leads the forefront for that, when they do something that thoughtful, and then people all over the rest of the game and other games start tying in, I think that's a sign of a strong community. Yes, it might be a strong community that you're not directly a part of, but considering that it reached so many other people in the game, I consider it a strong sense of game community. So it's difficult to say, but people just got to be nice. I mean, if people don't want to get along, people won't get along, and that's the problem as it is right now. So hopefully in the future the internet becomes a little bit less trolly of a place, but considering I do a troll here and now again, that probably won't happen. So here's to the best, man. That's all I could hope for. Alright, the next question one is about Ninja in particular. Since you play a Ninja main, I figured I'd ask for help. Does Determination scale better than Dex for Ninja? Okay, I think I know what you mean there. On a 1-per-1 scale, no. Nothing scale. Other than weapon damage, it's pretty much weapon damage, main stat, Determination, crit, skill speed, accuracy for Ninja. Skill speed's not terrible, but it's also not that great. Some people like to talk about, you know, skill speed, what's the word I'm looking for? It's too early in the morning. Skill speed thresholds where you can get maybe an extra GCD in between your ninjutsus or 2 extra GCDs. I mean, every job has those kinds of things where you can get an extra GCD if you reach a minimum skill speed. But that's the order you'll pretty much go. Now, is it better to, have crafted I-90 Dex rings with Determination or Dex for max? Now, most of the time, people will calculate it out and find that the Determination wins. What you have to remember is that as you scale up in more of your main stat, it affects your off-stat scaling. And that's something that usually not everybody really works on. It's not something I'm particularly good at working on either with exact changes to scaling every single patch. But I can tell you that you're probably better off with the increased dex. I mean, the amount of Determination you get on a ring or an accessory is very, very small. The cap is very, very low. So I believe you'll jump like 3 or 4 dex, and 3 or 4 dex is pretty good. Now, it could depend on what your crit scaling is as well, and if it's, you know, accuracy, skill speed versus crit Determination. But most of the time, the higher item level will be the clear winner. And that even goes for some other best in slot lists where people are using crafted gear. I mean, yeah, on paper, it absolutely looks better, and it's really hard to dispute that without any evidence. But I mean, it's always ended up being just full non-crafted gear anyway. Even after people have, you know, mathed it out and everything, it's always just ended up being, you know, full best in slot is everything from, you know, the highest item level in the game. So as for, is it better to use Mutilate and Shadowfang before Dancing Edge? Here's how I like to put that. There's 2 different ways you can do it. If you have a warrior in your party, getting those up first is priority. If you don't, getting Dancing Edge up is a priority. Think about it this way. Every GCD you don't get Dancing Edge up, you're missing auto attack damage being increased by 10% and basic damage, basic ability damage by 10%. So your Mug, your Jugulate, which you shouldn't be doing till after Dancing Edge is up, your Trick Attack, which you shouldn't be doing till after Dancing Edge is up. Obviously, Raiton and Suiton unaffected by it since those aren't physical. But your Spitting Edge, the base damage for your Shadowfang, the 200 potency, the dot damage is unaffected by Dancing Edge, and the base damage for Mutilate, which is like an extra 6 potency. But you really want to start making use of those things as soon as you can in the fight. Now, Mutilate beforehand, I think is okay. Mutilate being your 1st or your 6th global cooldown, the difference is like 1 DPS, and it can go in either direction depending on what crits you got between the 1st and the 6th GCD. So really there's a lot of right ways to play Ninja. The biggest thing is that if you have a warrior, getting Shadowfang and Mutilate up right at the start is usually a pretty good idea. So I still need to make my guide for Ninja, and there's a few things I'm really trying to make sure I get everything down packed. So I'll be doing one in the near future. Just look to that, and it should have all the answers that I just gave you and more. Next question, would you support the implementation of crafting recipe scrolls similar to WoW? Absolutely, because I think that's one way that we can make crafting more important and give endgame gear. If the recipes come from the final coil of Bahamut, I'm willing to accept that they are the equivalent of final coil of Bahamut gear. If they have crafting, if the recipes are from there, if the materials are from there, whatever. I'm so for crafting recipes, you have no idea. Or the scrolls, I should say, in particular. So, thumbs up. This next question gets on my nerves so much, and it's not this person's fault, don't worry, it's the topic itself. Hey, Mr. Happy, do you remember when 2.0 released and they said they were going to have some sort of Chocobo Wars thing or something along that line? So it sounds like you watched the Curse video where they said top 10 reasons why you should play Final Fantasy XIV. And 3 of those reasons were Chocobo battles that weren't going to exist in the first place. They kept saying, oh, you're going to be able to level your chocobos and battle them against each other. I was like, no, they never said that. No, this Chocobo Wars thing, maybe it could happen, maybe it won't. Maybe they have it planned sometime in the future. But if that's what you're referring to, they never said that. That was just people saying, oh, you're going to be able to battle with your chocobos, as in by your side. Hey, pretend to actually cast heal on me because your AI is complete shite. Sorry, we won't be getting it. Next question. Hey, Happy, I have a couple of questions for you. Since we now have the name for the expansion before the fall, that's not the expansion. That's patch 2.5. Patch 2.1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The expansion is Heaven's Word, just so you know. Got me, what do you think is going to fall? And also, what significance does the Goblet logo hold? I have my theories, but would love to know what you think. So, spoilers here. If you haven't done all the main story missions, pretty much, you don't want to hear this right now, so mute. I'll do this when I'm done doing spoilers, okay? So, before the fall, and I didn't think about this before my last episode with XOV Reborn, but it most likely means that Ul'dah is going to fall in some way. I think it's going to be the assassination of Nanamo Olnamo, and I think that may be why we just got her as a minion for the 630-day veteran reward as well, since she's about to die in the main story, and all of the political problems that are going on within Ul'dah are likely going to have to be solved. I don't know if this means Raoban is going to become the new official leader of Ul'dah, and which he's kind of seen as it already. You know, Nanamo might be the actual Sultana, but a lot of people act like Raoban is the leader of the country as it is. So I think that's what it is. I think Nanamo Olnamo is going to be assassinated. I think that Ul'dah is going to fall into a lot of political problems with the assassination, as well as with people trying to surge to power and maybe even try and fight between a democracy and a dictatorship. Obviously, the people who are already in control and want to take that spot want it to be a dictatorship. They want full control. Whereas, people like Raoban want it to be more democratic. Nanamo and Raoban want it to be more democratic. So I think that's what it's going to signify. It's going to signify the fall of Ul'dah. So spoilers over, so... Alright, getting late into the video, so I'm going to do 2 more questions. The first question is question from week 20. So my main is Bard, and I always find myself running out of TP. That's normal. Jobs that use TP tend to run out of TP. Usually, if you do it correctly, you can get to 2 Invigorates, and then halfway through waiting for the 3rd Invigorate, you'll usually end up running out of TP if there's no breaks in the boss, and there's no Paeons or Goads or anything like that. That is actually very normal. So, I don't think I'm screwing up rotation-wise. I apply dots only when they have fallen off for about 1 second until they do. Same with Straight Shot unless it procs. I have Invigorate and use once I drop below 600 TP, but even I find myself being starved for TP and will run if not for ninjas. If not for ninjas goat. Okay, I understand. I can't always play Paeon since I run the risk of not having MP for Ballad when healers need it. My skill speed is at 463. That's a lot, but it shouldn't be that bad. I don't think that's too high, but with upgrading to Ironworks, it's only going to get higher. Is there something I could be screwing up in rotation? The more skill speed as a bard is going to shoot you in the foot. I mean, granted, dots you still only do at the same amount of time. It's just a matter of how quickly you go through your TP using heavy shots and straighter shot procs, which actually eat a lot of TP. No, but it's completely normal. You're going to run out of TP, especially in Final Coil. In Final Coil, Paeon is going to be your friend. You are going to have to sing it pretty much. Whether or not it's for you, or it's for the melee, or it's even the ninja at some point may run out of TP. People are going to run out of TP. You are going to have to Paeon. And you can't always be worried, I won't have MP for Ballad. You just got to Paeon and assume that the healers are going to take care. Normally, if a healer is going to need Ballad, and you're doing the fight completely correctly, it's going to be at predetermined times. It's something that you're going to discuss with your raid group and be like, okay, we're going to do Ballad at this time. And you'll be like, okay, so I know I need to have MP when it comes about that time. Perfect. But if you don't have those times set up, and if you're balloting because people are dying, that's the bigger problem. You can't always just have those ballots for times when people mess up. That's more on those people needing to work on their individual skill level. So Pans, you're gonna have to start being a little bit more confident with using that song, because it's pretty vital in the final coil of Bahamut. And many times Payon is extremely useful in the final coil of Bahamut. Best of luck to you, sir or ma'am. Alright, I know I said 2 questions, but I see another question I want to answer after I answer this one, so 2 more from now, I promise. Hey, Happy, you missed my question from last week, so this question is for week 20. This is my first question, and sorry if it seems rather long, but I would like your opinion on something in regards to Warrior and Paladin. Mainly, I would like to know what your thoughts on exactly why Warriors get Defiance at 30 and Paladins do not get Shield Oath until 40. This seems rather strange to me, given that the Warriors gives the Warriors a distinct advantage at lower levels when they are very much already hard to begin with. Which they are very much already... Okay, never mind. Yeah, so you're saying Overpower is better than Flash. Meanwhile, Paladins get what? Sword Oath? I leveled the Paladin first, and it was my main, but after leveling Warrior and realizing just how easy it was for them to level and deal with things at lower level, I found it even more upsetting that they gained another ability that made life even easier 10 levels before Paladins, who in my opinion could really use Shield Oath at the same level for those dungeons. What are your thoughts on this? I don't know, man. It sucks, but you can still do it. I still have faith in Paladins. Is it easier to be a Warrior? Sure. Is it hard to be a Paladin? It's harder than being a Warrior, but you could still do it. And you have to remember, Defiance increases the healing and the HP. It doesn't reduce the damage, so a lot of the times, Warriors, yeah, they have an easier time holding aggro, but going into some of those dungeons, they aren't always more durable. So I guess it's kind of pick your poison, you know, easier enmity or harder to kill. One of the two. So I don't really know. Sorry, that's my answer to the question. All right. And this last one I want to talk about because a lot of black mages have been coming to me with this question, so I feel upset that this is the only time I've seen it in the comment section. So, for Mondays with Mr. Happy, what is your opinion on them bringing back the elemental wheel in regards to black mage acquiring stances based on the 3 elements they currently control and how it affects their ability usage? Now, what this person is specifically asking about is there was a panel, a developer panel, at the Japanese Fan Festival where a different developer from Square Enix, somebody who doesn't work on Final Fantasy XIV, came in and said, this is how I would change black mages to make their MP management more easier to go through, you know, like, and the person describes here, thunder spells are primary damage spells, fire spells are MP regen, and blizzard spells are dots. So, the idea behind the slide was that it tried to make the MP management for Black Mage a little bit cleaner than it is now, where it's kind of like, oh, you know, you have these really weird times where, you know, you're just waiting on your MP ticks to shoot up in giant amounts, whereas doing this, it would allow it to generate more consistently and just feel better, while also bringing back the idea of elemental related materia and damage, like Thunder does more damage against enemies that are weak to thunder and less damage against enemies that are not weak to it. It was a whole big thing, basically trying to make it more like the old school black mages where the elemental wheel mattered more. This was not an official statement of them saying this is how we are changing black mage. This was a different developer from Square Enix, works on other titles and other RPGs, saying this is what he would do. But because of the restrictions of the elemental wheel and then having to design bosses with different elements in mind and then having to balance them around those elements in particular, wasn't probably something that they were really planning on doing. I'm okay with it. The thing is, I'm not usually against these things, against these kind of changes, unless it inhibits the ability for a job to be useful in every situation. This is the kind of game where that pretty much has to be a thing. If it's not, then the job falls off entirely if they can't be used in every situation. Because if you, either that or you need to be very willing to play multiple jobs if you're playing one of those jobs that falls off. And not everybody is. People sometimes just want to play their favorite job, and it has to work in those scenarios. It maybe brings something that helps a little bit more, it's unique. But as long as it's not complete dead weight, you can play it whenever you want on whatever you want. And if it's going to affect that, I'm not for it. But this thing is cool. I would love to see it in practice and then see if it works after practice. So maybe we'll see something. I kind of am wondering if we're going to see any major job changes. I don't think we will. Just a few abilities on top of the currently existing system. But you never know. That's the thing. I said it before. It's all speculation. We're just going to have to wait and see. 4, 5, 6 months, whatever. And, well, hopefully we'll have some answers soon. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Keep doing these Mr. Happy Mondays with Mr. Happy videos. Be sure to ask questions in the comment section below. You can ask me on Twitter. I have a harder time keeping track of them, but I do try to take a look usually every week when I have Twitter and Facebook. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. I hope you all have a happy new year, and I hope you all had a great Christmas, or just time off if you don't celebrate Christmas. So anyway, guys, take care.